Welcome everybody to the Christian Marauder, and I'm so glad you all are coming in today. I'm just going to do a little talk while everybody else is signing in and signing on right now. I am doing this pre-recorded, so I'll delay this a little bit. If you want to speed up to about the 5-minute mark or whatever you can and jump into the message and skip all this, I might be a little longer than that. So with that, let me just give you a little monologue here while people are signing in today. I bet you didn't know that being an American is being outlawed in our own country. If you believe in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th Amendment of the Constitution, you are demonized as a fanatic. If you believe in free speech, open debate, you are now considered less than human. In fact, there is a war against humanity going on. In fact, I think it's over in Europe too. They don't want you to be Europeans. They don't want you to be who and what you are. They're trying to gel you into something else that is unbelievable. It makes no sense, and people are very bewildered about it. No longer do I feel like I live in America, and maybe you in Europe and across the seas, or in your own country. I don't know where you're from. Some people are I heard from Denmark, Australia, New Zealand, over in Indonesia. Other people listen to me in India. But I've heard that some of you folks feel about the same way. You don't feel like you're strangers in your own country, and our poor Canadian brethren up there, they really feel lost. And it's like, what type of world are we living in? Why can't we reason with these people? You can't. They don't reason. It's their way or no way. It's incredible. Our food supply is under attack by whacked out laws, and you can't talk to these people because they don't listen. And farmers are protesting in Europe, and yet you don't hear anything about it, or very little. And there's censorship. There's all kinds of things going on. Am I really living in the land of the free and home of the brave, or what? Where you have where United States citizens, it doesn't matter ethnicity or what, you're a U.S. citizen, you're born here, you have a heritage, and yet our tax dollars are paying for people who enter here in a illegal manner. They are getting Social Security checks, they're getting freebies, they're getting free medical care, they're getting universal income, all their needs met. Well, what about people on disability and Social Security? Well, shouldn't that money be going to them? What about, health care? You're paying all this health care. Who's paying for it? We, the United States citizens. So we feel like in the United States, there's a war going against us, our farmers, and land being taken from us, and foreign entities buying land and then turning it over and saying we can't plant or grow because of things. We are headed toward a time like we've never seen before, and that's incredible as it sounds. That's where we're headed. And I just want to know if you want to put in the comments or whatever, do you feel the same way? I'm just curious. Do you feel like an alien and stranger in your own country? This is insane what's going on. And I know many of you are bewildered by it. You're frustrated, and you can't believe you're living in a country like Canada, and what happened? It's a sad state of affairs. It really is. But anyway, I think I know what the cause of it is, and we're going to look at that today. And it is called the fallen realm. The fallen realm, folks. There is a fallen realm out there that is going to town on us. And today I'm going to do a new series on the fallen realm. And that is what we'll be talking about. How, all kinds of things. Like, for example, who and what are the fallen watchers? And what did they do? How did they leave their first estate? Those things are we're going to talk about right now. In the book of 1st Enoch helps explain all this, and I know the book of 1st Enoch is not canon of scriptures, and there's some things that are just because of how it's written, and we don't have any way to check in original language other than the manuscript, the Greek manuscript that we have found. We found some fragments in the Dead Sea caves that actually match what we have here, and I get all that. But first, Enoch fills in the gap. It is quoted in the book of Jude, and verses are quoted throughout the Old and New Testament, and so obviously the people knew about this book back then, and it is used as a reference. It's not canon of scripture, but it does fill in the gaps and answer some questions like, who are these fallen watchers and what did they do? And so, in fact, in the book of Enoch, Enoch mentions the names of the top 21 leaders who rebelled. And like I said before, names have meanings describing the authority, the boundaries, the task, the assignments of these fallen beings. After they rebelled, their names start to imply the opposite, okay? And they are all deceivers. It's almost like God gave them a new name, just like he's going to give some believers a new name. In fact, when you got born again, the Lord God gave you a new name, a new character. That's what it's talking about. So name means and describes your character, and also describes in the book of Enoch, the angels' authorities, boundaries, tasks, assignments, as well as some of their character and their names. And when they rebelled, of course, they got it flipped around, and you turn it around in a negative sense, and you'll see a new name, a new character in these entities. And it's very important. Not many people catch this, and because they have a plan. They came in 3 waves, just like I said, to earth. It's like when the book of Revelation talks about the devil having his tail, he threw 1/3 of the angels down, okay? The tip of the spear was led by a group. The first wave was by an entity called Azazel and all his host. And I'm going to go in a little more detail of who Azazel is in the upcoming parts of this series. I'm going to go through the meaning of the other names, describe what they did and what happened the best I can. And we're going to talk about it because what's going on in the world is we're seeing a manifestation of the fallen realm being bore out, just like it's written about in the book of Revelation and the prophecy of end-time events in the book of Daniel, so forth. We're beginning to see this fallen realm manifest. And we're going to get into this. We'll take a deep dive into it. If you're interested, hang in here, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to just explore all kinds of things. So the first wave was led by this Azazel character. And again, he is not mentioned in another segment of the book of Enoch that describes the top 20 fallen watchers who came shortly thereafter. I don't know how long it was. It's almost like you have a first invasion wave that comes in, or a subversion wave that comes in and subverts humanity, prepares it for the other watchers to come who made an oath on Mount Hermon and all these things. And it sounds like the rebellion and happened right around the time of creation, when you have the devil in the Garden of Eden, and then it could have started before. We don't really know when this angelic rebellion started, but they were cast to the earth, and the devil start throwing his troops down here to mess things up for humanity, okay? So who is Azazel? Because Azazel is in that first invasion rank that came in and basically like a 5th column are sneaking across the border, so to speak, and creating chaos and setting the stage for a major invasion. So let's go ahead and look at some of these things right now, folks, and that's what we're going to do. Azazel, the etymology of the name Azazel means strength of God to remove entirely, or to go away. That's what his name means. And I get that from the Abarim Publication website. I have the address there, and website address, and link will be in the description below. From his name meaning, we see that he was tasked to help move things for God and take things out of the way. In other words, remove barriers before he fell. This is possibly seen in all places in the book of Genesis. And it's almost like God created out of nothing, and then he signed angels to help maintain what he just created. They were like this entity was sent here to move things out of the way. In other words, divide the waters and from the land and the sea. You know, God moved things in Genesis chapter 1, where it talks about the second day of creation. So move things around. In other words, God did that by his word alone, but afterwards he sent this being called Azazel to maintain that. In other words, you can say that, wow, earthquakes and earth movement, plate tectonic, stuff like that, this entity was probably in charge of it. I'm speculating here just from his name. I'm just telling you, this is all a hypothesis. It's food for thought to give you something to think about, because this matches his name. How God moved things around. Then after he gets it set up, he assigns an entity there to be in charge of it, with a host of other entities who will help maintain the conditions on this planet that he just created, this earth, okay? And so that is who I think Azazel is, from his name. So with that, we're going to go ahead and look at this a little further. The Abarim Publication website also mentions two meanings for Azazel, as the first one is the strength of God who removes entirely and goes away. And the second meaning as the she-goat who goes or sent away. So what does the she-goat who is sent away means? And the answer is found in Leviticus chapter 16, verse 8 through 10. And I'll just read it to you. And Aaron shall cast lots upon 2 goats, one lot for the Lord and the other lot for Azazel. And Aaron shall present the goat on which the lot fell for the Lord and offer it as a sin offering. This speaks of basically pointing to Jesus Christ. He's going to be the sacrifice for our sins. Okay, that's what it's talking about. So what's even more interesting is this part here. The goat on which the lot fell for Azazel shall be presented alive before the Lord to make an atonement over it, and that it may be sent away into the wilderness to Azazel. Okay? So what does all that mean? So let's look at Enoch chapter 10, verse 9 here. He had the greater sin. That's what happened. The whole earth had been corrupted through all the works that were taught by Azazel. To him ascribe all sin. Thus all sin symbolically is dumped on him, reminding him his final day of judgment cometh. Why is explained in 1 Enoch chapter 9, verse 6 and 8. It says, look what Azazel has done, who hath taught all unrighteousness on earth, and revealed the eternal secrets which were made to be kept in heaven, which men were striving to learn. And what might be the secrets of heaven he shared, and next, what kind of unrighteousness did he teach? Well, one of the things that he taught was the nature of God, his character traits, and how to use the very kind, gentle, the righteousness, the uprightness, that God keeps his word, how to do that, and how to pit those character traits and blame God in the process for allowing them to exist. In other words, he has to keep his character traits, because God can't, there's no shadow of turning with God, like I explained in my Why Evil messages. He is who he is. And people get mad, well, God created the devil, he created all these entities, so therefore he created evil. No, they did. If you were a perfect being who was right, just, never lies, who tells the truth, who is highly intelligent, who give free moral will to be just to all, and you, even foreknowing everything, knowing that people would abuse it, and thus iniquity found in them, and they cause all the woe, he is going to set in motion a way to fix it. And people can shout all the time and blame God for making all evil. He should have done it my way. Well, we'll find another entity who's just like that. God should have created it my way. And this demiurge who created the material world, we have to get back to pure spirit being. So we'll keep climbing these steps through a process of synthesis until we destroy everything, and everybody's pure spirit being will live in a pure spirit world where everything is under the control of the devil himself to liberate you. And what type of world we're seeing now befalling us right now? Well, here it is. We are seeing total control and domination. How do you like it? I like living under totalitarianism. Not very pleasant. And be knowing that there are powers that be plan mass starvation on a big scale. It just doesn't really make you feel warm and fuzzy, does it? So we can't find fault with God. People will try to all the time, but I cannot find any fault with God for being right, just as He, and setting the stages in order to correct everything at an appointed time. He did snap His finger, but like I wrote in my book, A Land Unknown, Hell's Dominion, we are living in that divine snap, even as I speak. We're here. I don't know if you can kind of grasp what I'm saying. It's very hard to grasp this, but it's also extremely simple. When you look at who God is, His character traits, and He remains true to Himself, He cannot deny Himself in one iota. And then, so Azazel taught how to pit God's character traits against each other to solidify what the devil did in the tree of knowledge to humanity. Sold them the wrong bill of goods, so we become our own gods, governing the world as we please, according to the dictates of the devil right now in these entities. So what kind of unrighteousness did he teach? Let's go look at that right now. And Azazel, in 1 Enoch chapter 8 verse 1, and Azazel, who removes the strength of God from humanity, that's his name, taught men to make swords, knives, shields, breastplates, and make known to them the metals of the earth and the working of them. In other words, this is telling people you can't trust your brother. Your brother does better things than you do. You better get rid of him. He's accepted, you're not. He's Mr. Big, you're not. You're left out. So Azazel taught people to fight against each other, pit people against each other. You have the haves versus the have-not philosophy from this. You have the revenge. You have to attain power to control others' lives by force because you know how best to live other people's lives for them. You take from others. You can redistribute wealth back to those with weapons who are the ruling elite class in the corporate world, so to speak, and you can redistribute it and use people as pawns in the scheme to fight each other in order to gain more wealth. In other words, you can profit off of making weapons for wars. You use the metals and the resources of the earth, not as God intended, but for weapons of war to make profit off of. And then the Secrets of Heaven says, blame God for it. Blame God for allowing it all. If He was like you wouldn't allow this, would you? You can't trust God. So pick up your weapon, go after your brother, go after Christians, go get rid of them. That's... Crucify God all over again. Crucify, 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 crucify. That's what you shout. Also, the weapons and knives and stuff can be useful tools, and like for us, cutting hair to, benign things that could be helpful, like surgery skills and opening you up and doing surgery and stuff. There's some good applications of this, but this is, Azazel left the first estate on that, and instead using this to make weapons of war, not plows or anything like that, weapons of war. Also, now you can take knives and you can cut yourself. So a lot of people who slice themselves, and learn to hate themselves or to relieve pressure or whatever, they inflict wounds on each other with weapons of destruction. They're cutters. And being a cutter goes way back in the ancient days, because people have found mummified remains of people who had these tattoos and cuts in their skin. So these people were obviously cutters, even though they were fossilized or like mummified in the tundra or something. They found these bodies. Well, they used knives to alter one's body to be something other than what God intended. That's another aspect of what weapons are for, to alter what God intended. You are to alter yourself to become something you are not. So let's look at this next slide right here. And Azazel, the one who removes strength of God from humanity, taught metalworking and how to make bracelets, ornaments, and the use of antimony and the beautifying of eyelids and all kinds of costly stones and coloring tinctures. So let's look at what that means for a second here, folks. It's more than just making somebody look good. It has to do with seduction, sexual perversion, and debauchery, and marketing these for profit in the process. In other words, not just making yourself look handsome or beautiful or whatever, and, you need a little face putty to cover the wrinkles and stuff, and when you go out, but this is more than that. This is about the art of seduction and sexual perversion and marketing these for profit. Now, I could increase my videos umpteen times if I put on the screen the fallen realm and have a voluptuous blonde bombshell out there posing in some pose. Oh, I gotta see what this is. See, this is the idea, sex sells. So it's seduction. And it's also marketing women to dress and men to dress seductively. In other words, you gotta follow the ways of Enoch's descent. Enoch's descent, she came up to Ershkigal, her sister, who says, in order to get to your lover down there that you're trying to rescue, you're going to have to take off items of your clothes. I remember Enoch is also Aphrodite, in Greek also Artemis, the huntress and so forth. So you get the picture here. So she had to do a striptease act to try to rescue her lover and get her man. You want to get your man dressed down and be seductive. My grandfather was a fiery Methodist preacher, and he has this thing about how women dress back in the 20s there. That was hilarious. He goes, well, the skirts are now above the ankles. Soon they're going to be above the knees. Soon they're going to be up showing everything. Was he prophetic? I have no idea, but it's kind of it's a remarkable little sermon on that one. But, that's the idea. Go and get your man, dress down, keep taking things off, get your man. Then when you find your man, you find that he ain't all that, and you leave him in the abyss, leave him in his crib, you leave him in his man cave, and you walk away. Very disappointing. So you get revengeful, and so you take wrath against men. So this is the idea of modern feminism here, too. Next, another thing that dressing down and painting the eyelids mean, and also with the cutting and the metal means, it means to alter what it means to be a man or a woman. This is seductively sold, and its purpose is to alter the body so that men dress like women and women dress like men. This is modern feminism, folks. This is what this idea here is. And you need to alter yourself. Alter how God designed you. So it looks cool to transition to be something you're not. We have the medical skills. We have the knives to do the cutting. And in the ancient pagan religions of Enoch and there are the triple goddess there, this was big, where little boys would self-castrate to become the opposite what they were, and women would alter themselves as well. Little girls would, in order to become opposite, so they can become high priest or priestesses, and a lot of status, a lot of worship of them was exhibited. Have you seen any of that kind of happening lately? I'm just guessing that. I'm just wondering if you notice anything like that. That is, you're being Azazeled. The reason they do this is to destroy the family, which filters into society to the destruction of the society achieved by creating new cultural norms. So this is all about seduction, creating new cultural norms to destroy the family, destroy God's order and design of the family being the bedrock, where the husband loves the wife, gives himself to him as Christ so loves the church. He raises his children in the admonition of the Lord. He teaches them right and wrong and discipline and things like that. He loves his kids. He's not harsh to them. He trains them. Women love their husbands and respect them. And you work together as co-equal heirs together in the gift of life. You don't dominate each other. You're a team to help raise the children, and the mother is the glue that holds the family together. That actually comes from a Hebrew study on the role of a mother. A mom holds the family together, is the glue. She got sticky stuff all over her, and she can just do things that men can't. You know, it's just amazing what they can do with kids and get things ordered and organized. It just blows my mind. And great, you know, get something done, get the women doing it, it'll get done. Hallelujah. But but this seduction and dressing down, all this seduction is designed to destroy the family. If you destroy the family, you destroy the society. You destroy society, you can destroy the country. And you can turn it over into a utopian hellhole. A dystopian nightmare. With this spirit, you'll see men turning themselves into women and women into men, glorifying this and worshiping and being worshipped for doing so. And dare criticize them. We're getting back to raw paganism. I bet you didn't realize that. Pagan worship. And you go back to the slide. And there arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication, and they were led astray and became corrupt in all their ways. Now that is who Azazel is, and that is what he taught in order how to make unrighteousness and commit fornication. And that is how Azazel did it. So let's look at who this Azazel character is. Azazel, in all probability, is a Mr. Big. I said this before many times. He still is Satan. He's an adversary with the S capitalized while using the same 12 font. And get the idea who Satan is. Satan is the dragon of old. The big guy is Satan with a capital S that uses 28 font size, while the rest of the letters remain in 12 font. Azazel is the fall guy, taking the hit for the big guy and the other leaders who came shortly after him. And that is a very important point, because that is who he is. Azazel is not the big Satan like tradition has taught, but I'm just saying, you have to decide for yourself on that, because the Bible says otherwise, because the Bible is clear. Azazel is not the big guy. Instead, he is the Mr. Big. He goes by other names in ancient pagan religions. And this is my hypothesis, and that I gathered by learning how to match profiles in doing profiles and social histories and stuff like that in my career path in the criminal justice field, as well as other social work fields as well. This fallen watcher, Azazel, matches the profile we just seen in 1st Enoch. Mr. Big is this entity, he doesn't match the profile of the big guy, the big Satan, who is still released. Okay? He is identified in the Bible as one who is confined in the abyss. And it talks about him in the book of Enoch being confined in the abyss and he can't escape. Okay? That is Azazel. And in the Bible, he goes by other names. In ancient mythology, he goes by other names as well. He is identified in the Bible as one who is confined in the abyss. In Mesopotamian lore, which I'm more familiar with, he is called Tiamat, or Tamat. Tamat, or Tiamat, is the Akkadian word we see from Tom, the word Tom. It's the word for sea. In other words, in ancient Mesopotamia region, Tiamat was a huge dragon, 7 heads, in charge of the salty seas, the abyss, who gave birth to the first of the gods. So let's think out of the box for a second, folks. These entities are liars. You need to know that. They conceal themselves and what they do in their storylines of these ancient myths, so to speak. These ancient myths are cover stories which taught humanity how to emulate the storylines and live their life by the storyline of these entities. Okay? For example, Indiana was all about revenge, infighting, overthrow of the old order, the art of war. You know, you have debauchery being taught by, it's cool to live a debaucherous life, in Dionysius and sexual promiscuity, so forth. Be like Zeus, the god, throw thunderbolts, you know, pit people against each other to get what you want. Become a wily Greek, get what you want, how to manipulate the gods to get what you want. You know, just think out of the box. That's what these storylines and stuff, and they taught. They honored wily people who would pit the gods against each other to get what they want. You know, spell cast, whatever. Just think about that. Just think about some of these old stories and what they're teaching human beings to act like. You can manipulate God. What is that telling you? That's one of the evidences, an indirect evidence of it's okay to pit God's character traits against each other. You have others teaching you bestiality is cool, altering of forms, power, control, wealth, how to walk in steps toward greater knowledge. These things taught, okay? And the storylines teach that. And it was like leaders backstabbing each other. That's cool. That's okay to do. That's how to run your life. That's how to get what you want. That's how to be king, so forth, etc. They also masquerade their plans by revealing them in plain sight as well. How Marduk defeats Tiamat in a great sky battle, then uses pieces of Tiamat's body, chops it up, the body of chaos, because Tiamat is the chaos monster, to make a new order out of the earth, sky, and so forth, and lead humanity into a brave new world. You have the picture of the Antichrist. Now you begin to understand why this entity, Azazel, aka Tiamat, was sacrificed in order to make a brave new world. He is the fall guy. That's what that's telling us. Worked in community corrections. Inmates play great mind games. They will have a fall guy that takes a hit while the others are doing something they shouldn't be doing. So Tiamat, aka Azazel, is the fall guy. To be defeated, to be in prison, he's going to take the hit for the big guy. So the big guy can continue the rebellion and reward him later after he gets out. This was according to a well-oiled plan that is both seen and used in modern occult world today and by authoritarian governments today. And what is that? What's that? What do they use? It's called something called the two-pillared system, where you have the Dark Lodge. The pillar of severity and justice is the divine feminine, and you have the pillar of mercy, compassion, that's the masculine, the White Lodge. So they play both sides. You have the old forms of idealism, materialism, in the material world, and you have the older forms of material communism, totalitarianism, and totalitarian democracy. You know, that's the harsh, mean-spirited one you don't want to submit to. These are the bad guys, and we're going to pit the good guys against each other to create what? I'll show you again. This is the pillar of mercy, compassion. Your fusion of spirit and matter by spiritual drive and aspiration, mental freedom, and new loving understanding. These are words right out of Theosophy, okay? It's a new spiritual form of communism, totalitarianism, and aka totalitarian democracy. That's what they're in. So they play each other to get the kinks out of the older in order to create a synthesis. The same concept is seen in Hegel's dialectic of thesis, antithesis to reach a synthesis, a balance, by blending the severity of justice fused together with mercy and compassion through secret illumination to create the process of constant compromise to make a brave new world created by chaos. So you have a brand new order. And so that is what it's about. The problem with this mindset is this. It's like a pyramid. You have thesis, antithesis, and then you have synthesis on the top of the pyramid. Okay? And the problem is once you reach synthesis, you're going to have more opposing forces, and you're going to have complete, forever going on opposing forces. And according to Theosophy, I don't have time to explain all this in the world of the occult, you have the seven root race of evolutionary development of human beings who are born blind, and you got to lead them into to these 7 stages of evolutionary development, divided into 7 steps or 7 stages of initiation, each stage is. And so since humanity now is in the 5th stage, in order to transition into the 6th stage, there will be no more America, no more Western Europe, and everybody will be, they'll make a new form of synthesis of a, a global nationalism. A global nationalism is what they're after. They're creating a global nationalist state. And that will fix everything. And they'll solve all the world's problems by doing this. And they're going to lead the way into the next 7 stages of initiation, to the next 7 stages of initiation, and so forth, etc. This keeps going on. So their idea is that this keeps going on until you finally reach the state of synthesis of pure spirit being. That's a 2-pillar system. And listen to what it says. And again, the Lord said to Raphael, bind Azazel hand and foot, and cast him into the darkness, and split open the desert, which is in the Duodel, and cast him in. And fill the hole, covering him with rough and jagged rocks, and cover him with darkness. Let him not live there forever. Cover his face, that he may not see the light. And on the day of the great judgment he shall be hurled into the fire. The whole earth has been corrupted through the works that were taught by Azazel. To him ascribe all sin. So folks, when you ascribe an entity like this of all sin here, that's what this is talking about. He created the chaos and the mess in the world. He is in the abyss, while the big guy is still running around, planning to overthrow and exalt his throne above God's. And the ancient Gnostics, or Gnosticism, will use this idea of march, or struggle, to get the idea that you will reach this utopic, get rid of the material world and all the bad stuff, and then you reach the super spiritual state. That is Gnosticism, and you achieve it, you have to put to death or get rid of the demiurge, God, who is the Judaic Christian God who created all. You can't have any of his order. You need to alter it, you need to fight against it, you got to destroy it, and create this utopic place called the pit of hell. That's where they're going to be heading, and in a pure spirit state, never to be able to repent or turn away from anything, because once you die, you're sealed in that forever. It's a big trap, folks. The pit sides against each other. That's Azazel's secret. And he taught his minions and his followers that are still running around on this earth, human and otherwise, are teaching this. And in fact, folks, in Theosophy, in the science of the 7 rays, a tool for understanding ourselves, our fellow man, and our world, in a talk given at the Theosophical Society of Edinburgh, 30th of September 2010, by Sarah McKechnie. And you have to go to the Lucius Publisher website to find this article and her transcript of her meeting. And I don't suggest you all go there, but if you're curious, that's where I'm going to be quoting. I can't quote the whole thing, I can only quote parts. And so Sarah McKechnie on Lucius Press website states, and I quote, Ray 6 servers over the past 2,000 years have trained humanity to recognize ideals, which are blueprints of ideas, by training world thinkers to desire good, the true, and the beautiful. Some people can be galvanized by an idea, and others reach more easily by an ideal. So folks, so what is she talking about? She's talking about 7 rays or 7 energies emitted by the fallen watchers to humanity that guide humanity through evolutionary processes to create a new heavens and earth. In other words, get rid of God, of the Bible, create this new utopic earth. And you do it by defeating the God of the Bible, so the big guy can exalt his throne. That's basically what this evolutionary process is about. I'm not going to go through every single ray right now, but the 7 rays are the rays of initiating all humanity to come in alignment with their plan to reach this state of ongoing synthesis until the final synthesis, the only way to put it. So I'm going to go ahead and look at this slide right here so you can understand what I'm saying. The 6th versus the 7th rays. Okay? The past 2,000 years have been conditioned by the sixth ray of devotion and idealism. This ray of initiation is fostered by the growth of the great world religions because the sixth ray endows the capacity for abstraction. The outstanding quality of human experience over the past 2,000 years has been growing expression of idealism. But after 2,000 years, the conditioning has led to the tendency to oppose one's own particular idea on the others at the expense of the original idea. The sixth ray is the ray of blind procedure. Only one aspect of reality is seen at a time, and usually the least desirable. The vision only one picture. Their horizon is limited to only one point of the compass, focused on the material world, material comfort, material possessions, and material enterprise. To this, the labor of movement today bears testimony, as Alice Bailey points out, she writes. Two of these rays are struggling for expression. One, the incoming seventh, and the one outgoing sixth, although the sixth ray begins to pass around 1625 and is still the most powerful influence. Thus, the sixth ray is expressing now through reactionary forces, crashing with the progressive forces incoming of the seventh ray, which are seeking to govern and which take world civilization in drastically a different direction. One ray is fostering crystallization and perpetuation of existing culture. That's the dark pillar. That's my terms there. And the one, that's the white pillar, is fostering the creation of something entirely new out of the present world upheaval. That's chaos. The sixth ray people are often reactionaries, conservatives, diehard, fanatics who hold to the past and hinder progress. They provide, however, the needed balance in steadying. Alice Bailey said the failure of the sixth ray devotee to work intelligently and lovingly with substance and to produce right relations with the outer form has led over the past 2,000 years to a mismanaged world. A mismanaged world. Wow, I heard old Klaus Schwab use the same words. We have mismanaged the world. We need a great reset. A great reset. We need, jawohl. You own nothing. We own everything. Ha ha ha. So, because you are mismanaging the world. So we can now have a managed world. Go figure. Go figure. Let your mind roll on that. That's what she's talking about. Well, let's go down and look at this a little deeper and further. So, Judaic-Christian worldview was the mismanaged world. If you're conservative, you are a reactionary force, and you are the enemy. That's what she's saying. And let's look at this last paragraph. The task of the New Age worker is to bring these two apparent opposites together and demonstrate that spirit and matter are not agonistic to each other, and that throughout the world there is only spiritual substance working on and producing the outer tangible forms. Woo, really spooky there. You know, wow, cool, man. It's groovy. Let's go to the next slide. And she goes on. The seventh ray is steadily gaining influence. It aids and inaugurates the new age based on spiritual drive and aspiration, mental freedom, loving understanding, and a physical plane rhythm. She goes on to explain how that seventh ray people, the true believers, as she says, are coming into incarnation now. And to them is committed the task of organizing the activities of the new age and ending the old methods of life and old crystallization attitudes. The result of increasing flow of the seventh ray and the decreasing power of the sixth ray is to throw the millions of people who don't respond to either ray into a state of bewilderment, a feeling of being entirely lost, for all that they hold dear is rapidly fading. As the seventh ray pours in, we are seeing the increasing focus on sexuality, not always a pretty picture, but because the seventh ray governs the fusion of spirit and matter, and surely will lead to a wiser approach to sexuality, end quote. I don't know if you get all that. I really don't know if you understand what all that is saying. Increasing flow, decreasing, and all this stuff. When it comes in, people are going to feel bewildered and beside themselves. They can't make sense of what's going on. So what she's saying, that in 1625 marked a big year of apocalyptic chaos, which it did. History proves that. The year 2025, as Alice Bailey said, will be in all probability the stage of when the hierarchy manifests themselves back on Earth. I talked about that in my series, and one of the shows is called Mass Possession by the year 2025. I go into that in great detail on that. But that's what this is talking about. And before 2025 will be time, as Alice Bailey wrote, be a time of preparation and testing and pitting two opposing forces together to create synthesis, to create a perfect world led by the hierarchy into group love, group consciousness, the Christ consciousness. And you finally will slowly, through 7 more stages and a few more stages, finally reach pure spiritual state and destroy and get rid of the entire material world. These people are lunatics. That's all I gotta say. They're crazy. They're insane. And as Sarah McKechnie says, the 7th ray will pour in, seeing increasing focus on sexuality, and not always a pretty picture. And it isn't it? When we see gender flipping and the glorification of Azazel's work. The 7th ray governs the fusion of spirit and matter. In other words, the 7th ray initiates the fusion of spirit and matter. Surely it leads to a wiser approach to sexuality. H.P. Blavatsky wrote in Secret Doctrines that to be androgynous is to be God. And at this time, people are going to be bewildered. Why is this happening on a worldwide scale? What's going on? You can't figure out. Your old order, everything, they want it to die out. They actually believe this stuff. They are true believers. You're not dealing with rational human beings who take objective reality in what works and what doesn't at face value. They're led astray by the Azazel. That's all I got to say. So why did I bring this up? It matches the profile of Azazel's lingering influence, which seeks to blend two opposites together, male and female, as well as ideas of political systems, to bring it into a pure spiritual group think, group love, group narrative, think one, march, as the old Italian fascists would say, march. When you're marching, you lose your inability to reason. You just march. So you create as much chaos and disorder, and you get rid of the political opposition and all the reactionary forces to reach this utopic state. You just march. You don't think. Gnosticism, Theosophy, sounds light and airy and open and liberating. It teaches you not to reason, not to critically think. The Bible also identifies this entity. He's called Leviathan in the Bible, who is seen in the closing chapter of Job, who is confined in the abyss just like Tiamat is, just like Azazel is. He can't escape until an appointed time. And he's seen in the book of Psalms and the book of Isaiah. He's called the twisting serpent. And that's why Abarim's site gives an etymology of the name Leviathan. It's meaning the great, intuitive, insightful human unity. Okay, that's a really nice name. In Bible dictionary, he is defined as the twisting serpent. The etymology is from the verb wa, meaning to join or connect together. Thus, to unite and connect human intuitive insight into the illumination of secret knowledge from the big guy, who is another twisting type serpent. The Abarim website goes on, identifies him as a submariner, associated with salt water. Tiamat, meaning he resides in the depths of the sea. That's Job 40, chapter 41, verse 32. According to tradition, Leviathan was wounded or maimed way before prehistoric times. Isn't that interesting, folks? From the Abarim website, and I quote, Aesop's somber and despairing poem speaks of Elohim as the king of old, whose congregation he has purchased deep in antiquity, at Psalms 74:2. Even alludes to the second creation day when Elohim divided the waters. Interesting, isn't it? Aesop's Leviathan describes the global, unified human mind, which must have existed before distinct human cultures. Leviathan's heads, he had 7 heads, began to evolve and diverge. Since the image of dry land in the Bible often serves as a metaphor for certainty and knowledge, the sea in which Leviathan resided is the collective intelligent but a blank human mind. It's the home of superstition, flawed beliefs, fears, and doubts. Let me add here, this is what progressivism, Gnosticism, and Luciferianism teaches. This is what fascism, communism really teaches. Those are just forms of Gnosticism. That's all it is. In fact, folks, if you really want to understand it, Aleister Crowley came up with this figurine of Baphomet, a she-goat. Again, Azazel. Okay? Half human, half goat. Who had this light above his head. That's illumination. That's actually the big guy. So, the cover story is now the she-goat, Azazel, Tiamat, Leviathan is the big guy. No, he's Mr. Big. He is dividing things, moving people to unite to intuitive knowledge into Lucifer's light. In the Bible, Leviathan is classed as a tannin, a large, unspecified sea creature which was created the fifth day long before the fall. Leviathan was perfect, as was the rest of creation. That was before he rebelled. Isaiah 27, he is identified as the fleeing serpent. Leviathan, the crooked, twisting, coiling serpent. And God will slay the dragon that is in the sea. That's what Isaiah 27:1 talks about. The Leviathan's root meaning is from the verb law, which means to join or connecting things. It is a verb of building and is also a verb that lies in the heart of intelligence, cognition, logical deduction, in order to unite humanity into something. Thus, Azazel likewise connected people to be suspicious, to war against each other, to make weapons, cut themselves, alter the human image, produce sexual perversions, glorify them and glorify sins, and to blend male and female together. This was done to bring people together in a new utopia on earth from the body of Azazel sacrificed by being housed in the abyss and can't get out. And some of his hosts are down there too, as the book of Enoch would say, but some aren't. And they will do their bidding to connect people to leave behind the old creative order for Marduk, the Antichrist, to can come forth out and create this new order out of the body of the sacrifice of Azazel, Tiamat, Leviathan, along with all the legions of the fallen watchers in this fallen realm. Now, I'm going to go back here. Look what Sarah McKechnie says here in her 2010 address. The seventh ray people, the initiated, true believers, are coming into incarnation now, and to them is committed the task of organizing the activities of the new age and ending the old methods of life and old crystallization of attitudes. As the seventh ray pours in, we see an increasing focus on sexuality, not always pretty picture, but because the seventh ray governs the fusion of spirit and matter, surely it will lead to a wiser approach to sexuality, end quote. This fits the profile of Azazel, the chaos maker, to a T, who removes the strength of God in humanity to resist and move them away from God, to be secreted, to be united with pure spirit illumination from the big guy above Baphomet's head, the chief adversary hiding cleverly in the background by coming across as an angel of light. He is also known as the birth mother. And this is my opinion and my hypothesis is what I come after studying this for some time. He is the original old crone, the original old crone of the occult world, of the triple goddess theology here, who teaches secret knowledge, occultic arts and crafts and insights and spell casting that takes away the reliance of God away from humanity. I call him, who comes across as a she, I call it the original old crone. It's also called Nema, might be Nin Horsag, or Horsag. This entity has two helpers who are not in the abyss. One is another birth mother, most likely Gaia, the Mother Earth, or Nintora, whatever, and Inyana, who carries out the will of that entity on earth by emulating its will on the earth, of doing the same things as the chaos maker. It is the divine feminine of chaos material severity of justice, who rides the beast that is seen in Revelations chapter 18 and 19. And there is another entity in the abyss called Ershkigal, also known as Hecate in Greek, who is possibly the mouthpiece for the old crone, that deep occultists seek to attain secret knowledge from. Because Ershkigal had stairs that go down into the deepest, darkest depths of the abyss, where Timiat would be. That's why I derived that from. Am I right? I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, this is a hypothesis. I'm just throwing this out there. So Ershkigal is possibly the mouthpiece that the occult world goes after in this triple goddess worship to get the marching orders. Okay, that's what I'm saying. It's also known in Isaiah chapter 27:1 that Leviathan is called the twisting, coiling serpent who twists people into wrongness, excess. In fact, the word translated as twisting or crooked comes from a Hebrew word that means to twist into wrongness, excess, injustice, unfairness, and torture, so forth, etc. Traditionally, in Jewish sources, he is seen as the one trying to chase his own tail. This is the Ouroboros symbol, which means order out of chaos. What's the point of telling you all this? Okay? Well, he has two helpers helping him now to bring this out while he's in the abyss. And this is why we're seeing what we're seeing on earth, and why men's hearts are failing, and you can't make any sense out of things, and you are bewildered as all get out. And this is explained by Pastor Alan Jackson, folks. I don't know if you know who Pastor Alan Jackson is, in World Outreach Church in Memphis, Tennessee. And I am going to quote from a sermon of his he did about a few weeks ago here. So I'm just going to go right to it and read it to you. Okay? Pastor Alan Jackson, World Outreach Center in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, stated this in his Let's Do Difficult effort required a few weeks ago, and I quote, "Other than God, there's no one coming to help us. There's nowhere for us to run. There's no border for us to cross where someone will provide education for our children or extended health care to us or give us Social Security checks. If we don't value what we have, we will lose it. And there is nowhere we can to run to replace it. It is time for the church to decide to become part of the solution. Amen. The voices of wickedness have been too loud for too long, and the voices for obeying God have been too timid, too soft for too long. Now decide which side you're going to be on. There's no neutral. There's no middle ground. You're either going to be part of the chorus for wickedness and ungodliness. If you're silent, that's where you are. There's no covert Christianity. Jesus says, if you deny me before people, I'll deny you before the Father in heaven. It's time for us to find a voice." End quote. If you want to see the whole sermon and stuff, I provided the link in the description below of that, and what he just said. A very good one. With that, that's it. I'm going to sign off, and if you'd like to contact me and support what I do, just look on the screen, and all my contact information and how to support information is there on screen. Also note that if anybody tries to contact you by private email and soliciting money, know that that is not me. I don't solicit money. With that, you guys be blessed in Jesus' name. Amen.